And the idea is that it allows children and families to slow down and ask questions. So in this video, that's where the azaleas are. It's something that you would just walk past every day and not even think twice about. So it kind of forces that, I wonder, I notice. And then what they're going to do in the rest of the video is they're going to pose that question, and kids can use a protractor to measure the angles on plants or the azaleas, and then they go to another one and they compare it. And what they're going to find is that the angles are similar for each one of those plants, and then they kind of ponder that question: why are they similar? Why, is it intentional? And then it brings it back to structure and function. And so our core mission is Earth and Life Sciences, and so what it's doing is it's tying that math piece into the reason and the structure and function of the Earth and Life Science. We have another STEM stop that in our edible gardens that centers around proportions of a recipe. And so it has kids looking at plants that you use to make salsa and then figuring out what proportions you would need to, and what ratio you would need to make the full salsa recipe. We have another one that looks at leaf patterns and leaf angles. And so again, you're looking at proportions and scales and Fibonacci patterns. And it's really a nice level that anybody can do from young to I notice and I observe all the way to how do I quantify that and how do I look at that. So it's really nice, and it's nice to be able to offer it to school groups, but also families and anybody that comes in to just heighten that awareness and slow kids down and have those intentional conversations. And then it's fun, it's kind of like a scavenger kind of feel. So it's really, not gamified, but it's really highly engaging to students and children as they're walking through.
Oh, that's so awesome. I heard somebody good at highly engaging, I wonder, like some very rich, curious words that are it really sparks like that youth inside. As you can see in the video, I got to actually participate on one of those, so I'm so excited. I can't wait for it to actually, get the kids out and do their own math process. We gotta keep going because now we're gonna move on to, ready, Doctor? To the Dallas Zoo and check out just a little taste of what they've done so far.
Here's a tough question. What do animals like elephants, giraffes, cats, dogs, what do they have in common besides just being mammals?
I'm not sure.
Well, they all walk on 4 legs. These types of animals are called quadrupeds because quad means 4 in Latin. Have you ever wondered what type of walking pattern quadrupeds use? Do they all share the same walking pattern, or do they walk differently?
That's actually a great math question. Did you know mathematics is also the science of patterns? A math pattern is simply a repeated arrangement of anything, numbers, colors, shapes, and so on. You can have number patterns or any other kind of pattern too.
Awesome. She's gonna tell us a little bit more about those patterns.
Sure. So at the Dallas Zoo, we have 4 videos as well that were created for the Mathfinder project, and they all deal with patterns. And we, I think in visual patterns and motif and elements of art like that. And so thinking of math patterns was a little bit of a switch for me. I think in life science as well, and like a repeating cycle, a life cycle, also the seasonal cycles, all of these things, if you think about them, they're an example of a pattern. We actually have 4 different videos. This one is about walking patterns and gait patterns, and also it's tied to observation. And the way that, are we talking about how we're using these? Mm-hmm. Okay, so the way we're using these, we piloted this with a fall camp, and the students were watching the methodology and then copying the methodology and creating their own Mathfinder stops, their own walk-STEM stops with animal habitats in the zoo where they could stop and observe and think of their own questions and take photographs and then share their thinking with each other. So that was really great. We also have been working for a few years on a couple of different walk-STEM stops across the zoo in both parts of our zoo. So eventually we think that we'll be using these with scheduled programming as well as making them available for self-guided tours and
that would be field trips or families or anyone who would want to use them. They're all, like Selena said, they're geared toward any level of thinking. So we've had families try them out to see how they work. We've been working with our staff to see how they might want to incorporate them in some scheduled programming with multiple different age groups. So lots of opportunity to embed math into their science-based field trip.
Awesome, thank you so much. And I actually got to go to that camp and observe the kids doing some of their stops, and it was really fun. And you got to look at giraffes. We didn't talk about all of them, but that's okay. We'll have time as well, hopefully, for you to share a little bit more about some other ones. But let's keep going ahead, Joshua. We're going to move to the Frontiers of Flight Museum, and let's get a taste of that one.
Why do you think it is called the flying pancake? And why was it designed this way? Probably due to the shape of the body. It looks like one giant wing. It was designed this way by Charles Zimmerman because in the 1940s, the Navy was looking for a fighter that could be deployed from tankers, cruisers, and other ships to counter Japanese kamikaze and submarine attacks. The flying pancake was a unique airplane design that addressed these goals. We wonder, why was the plane designed to have a flat wing-like body, giving the surface of the body such a large area? In geometry, area is defined as the space occupied by a two-dimensional shape or by a surface of an object.
All right. Tell us all about that, Rosalie. This is probably one of my favorite ones when I was there.
Yeah, I definitely love all our weird planes and artifacts, but yeah, the flying pancake's one of my favorite because it's such an interesting thing for people to see. It's the only one that's been restored in history, and it's actually not a failure. It was a successful design, and later in that video, they refer to the stealth bombers, which are also designed as a wing, but it's an addresses surface area, and we have 5 different videos for we did a camp as well, just like Marti was talking about, where the kids tested and imitated the math-based questions and tried to come up with their own stops. And it was just really interesting to see what happened in just different ways of thinking about geometry. And of course, since we are aviation and space, we get to do a little bit of a different take rather than just life sciences, that type of stuff. Because obviously space is heavily math-oriented. We wouldn't be here without it, so very thankful for that. But it was definitely a really great project to just see the kids just utilize the different concepts and think of just around them, think about what they could take from this. And it's a great just cross-curricular thing. It's always fun to just see how you can connect all the different subjects, and this is a great way to start.
I love that, connecting subjects. That's so important. And I see some nods as you were talking as well. So just confirmation. So excited about that. But we're going to keep it going. Next, we're going to go to the Girl Scouts STEM Center of Excellence. So let's take a look at which stop we're going to focus on right now.
Hi, welcome to the STEM Center of Excellence here with Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas. And right now, we're standing at the AT&T High Ropes course, where behind us you'll see we have the giant swing, also known as the Screamer, and we have a climbing wall and vertical playground that leads to the high ropes elements and our zip line.
You know, I'm really wondering about this thing that we're calling the Screamer. I see that it's a 3-person swing, and the people are suspended high above the ground from a cross pole that's held level by 2 wooden poles.
Yes. When they're secured safely in the swing, they'll be pulled up on a cable to the anchor pole. And whenever they're ready, they yank on the P cord to release them from the cable, which will allow them to swing in a graceful arc, not only to their point of origin, but also beyond.
Graceful but thrilling, I'm pretty sure. I wonder, how high are they pulled up? I can also see that there's that pole where they're suspended and pulled back from. Could we use that to help us figure out how high they're pulled?
Well, watching how high they're pulled, they are pulled pretty high up on the swing, and I'm wondering if we could use the concept of similar triangles to figure that out.
You know, that's a really great idea. I know that if we can measure the shadow of the pole behind them, the height of a person who's on the swing, or any person.
All right, let's talk about that. Shane, what was going on in that video?
That is one of just a few of the videos that we have. Apparently, the talkSTEM team got excited when they came out to the camp because I think we have nearly 10 videos. But in that one, it's really adding, it's a mission that we have at the STEM Center of Excellence is to overlay the different letters of STEM at all of our elements of the camp. And so being able to talk about angles, introduce geometry at an earlier age. When kids get to geometry, hopefully they don't have the same fear that some of us have when we think of proofs and theorems. To be able to see how can that actually be utilized to give them information regarding like thrust and force and motion when it comes to getting on a wonderful amusement park type of adventure. We also have other stops that include our observation tower, why do you have safeties in terms of distance of steps, how many girls or people could actually sleep at the top of the observation tower, utilizing the sports field, the pool, and other areas just to really, like I said, kind of broaden your awareness of math is truly everywhere. As you can see at all the different varieties of places that talkSTEM actually has different sites, it really does get kids to understand that math is everywhere. And that you can use it for everything from risk management on why you would need certain spacing between stairs as you're ascending, to just what does it mean to be able to interact with the space or to make an estimation for room size and usage. So it's one of those things that we really also use it, like I've heard earlier, in terms of field trip experiences, as well as we host overnight camps and troop camping and family camping. It is one of those things that we were able to add that as a free element. So as you all know, the wonderful shutdown has caused people to try and find different ways for vacations and getting out of the house. And so when we started having families come out, to be able to offer free elements that fit their budget and the economic impact that shutdown had was really an added bonus. So things like this that really are free, yet again break down those barriers of being able to access amazing content and resources like this that really do broaden kids' experiences.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shane, for that. And then last we have the St. Philip's School and Community Center. And we're going to show a quick snippet of that. And then Tamasha is going to tell us a little bit what's happening at that site. And then we're going to open it up for questions. So go ahead, Dr.
We come to chapel every day to celebrate God. It's a great way to start our first school morning. You're right. Unfortunately, due to the COVID pandemic, there are not as many students that can attend each morning. I wonder the maximum amount of students that we can fit in this chapel. Of course, following CDC guidelines that call for 3 feet between each student that is masked. Let's do some math to estimate that number right now. We can use these carpet squares to help with our measurements. Each square is 2 feet by 2 feet, so we can figure out the number for the left side of the chapel, then simply double it.
If you look at the left side and count, that's 15 carpet squares. That makes 15 times 2, which is 30 feet. So we can think of each side as an array of carpet squares.
Tell us all the wonderful things happening at your math walk stop.
Yeah, so we were really excited in the Math Finder Club. We've been a project-based learning school for quite a while, and so this kind of really tied into what we felt like we were already doing. And so for our students to really take hold and look at the things that they are included in every day and see math. And so this one was our chapel service. And like I said, the number of students that can attend chapel each morning. We actually have 5 videos or 5 stops along our campus. Saki mentioned that my school name is St. Philip's School, but and Community Center. So we also open this to our community as well, because we have a lot of after-school programs and a lot of different opportunities for our surrounding community to be on our campus. And so our students act as guides to be able to, and of course they can do a self-guided tour, but our students really act as guides to be able to, explain and walk people through what they found and kind of question them and then explain their experience and how they were able to, or what they got from each of the stops that they created. We are a small campus, and so we have, like I said, about 5 stops that go across our campus. We have one in our garden that talks about volume. We have rain silos out there, and so, looking at how they can reuse that water and how much water it contains. Also looking at patterns. We have a lot of, just like the carpet squares in the chapel, we have a lot of things that they see patterns across our campus and flooring. We also have a couple that include our gym, which is one of our community center spaces, because we also offer basketball and different sports. And so it was talking about the number of people that could sit in and watch any game in our gym location. And then our last one, we just built a new welcome center. And so students were looking at scale and proportion as it relates to the blueprint that was created first, and then now looking at the welcome center, what was that scale, and looking at how to do that. So one of our things that we found specifically, or that I found in working with the Math Finder, is our students' interest. They are, like I said, highly engaged in what's happening. They're creating their own questions. They're going home and asking questions. And so it really just allows them to become more comfortable and seeing math everywhere, even in their science classes, and building connections. And so that's what math is all about, is also making sure that that foundation is strong, so that once that foundation is strong, they're able to build upon it. And so we want to see that in all aspects. And so this is one opportunity for them to do it directly in their community.
Wonderful. Well, we hope you all liked what you saw there, and we're just going to keep moving. And one of the questions that I have for you, and then I'm going to turn it over to them, and this is going to be popcorn, so anyone can answer, but we do want to hear responses from each of you. We have about 20 minutes left, just FYI. What is the role of math, and I think you kind of talked to this a little bit, but just kind of succinctly, what's the role of math in informal science learning spaces? So whoever wants to go first, just dive right on in. So I'll repeat the question. What is the role of math in informal science learning spaces?
I think the role of math in informal science is just the awareness of connectedness. That it plays a role in everything that you do, and that math goes into design of everything, and it's intentional.
Nice. Intentional connectedness. Anyone else want to chime in? You don't have to, but
It just makes me think of, we had a wonderful keynote this morning all about STEM and STEM majors, and STEM by definition is also the integrated use of these separated disciplines, right? And schools haven't actually created any ways of making these disciplines not separated, but place-based and informal science learning do allow for this integration of all of these disciplines. And so I really think it's we're transdisciplinary, and math needs to be in that as kids start feeling the comfort level that I've heard mentioned from others.
right.
Yeah, one thing we like to do is really just make career connections for the students, because just like Marty was saying, there's so many disciplines, you don't just become a math major. I mean, you can, but you're probably concentrating in something specifically in math, and it goes the same for any other subject.
I always think at all of our places, including St. Philip's, it's really about the application of math. And they do get a chance to hopefully utilize what they're learning in school or go above and beyond to be able to see, this is why it matters. I remember being a teacher, and anyone else in here who's ever been a teacher has been asked, why does this matter? When am I going to use this? And so we get a chance to finally answer that question without even being asked. We get to say, have you ever thought? It also allows us to teach kids how to ask questions. Kids are born curious, as we all know. If you give them a box of something that they don't know what's inside, they shake it, they listen, they try and figure out what the math is. That they're trying to discover what is inside, and so we have to capitalize on that curiosity by helping them figure out, how do you ask those kind of questions? How do you figure out what's needed to be solved? Which then leads to the engineering process and design thinking. So it's one of those things that we get a chance to give them that application and to answer that amazing question, so that way they know that math really is their friend and not their foe.
Okay, all right. Well, now I would love to open it up to the floor. Do any of you want to share anything that maybe you're doing at your informal learning sites, your programs, that you can see perhaps integrate some of the Math Finder applications that you saw today. Did anyone spark anything, like, the videos? And it's okay if you don't have a response, but I thought it would be a good time. Or you can actually pose a question to any of the panelists about anything specific related to their site. Yes, ma'am.
I'm thinking about at our site, we have 60,000 gallons of rainwater collection, and the angle of the roof, what that caption is like, how much rain at what angle, at what rate will fill those tanks. And I know that's even been answered, research ahead of installing those, but I don't remember the answer. Just to discover what that is so interesting. So I really, that was sparked to me when you all were describing what you're doing.
Shane, is that similar? Don't you all have one about rainwater, I think?
Yeah, it's one of those things that it really is those questions that got you to where you're at. That really, I think, is what connects all of our sites and our stations. Is that it really is what kind of thought went into this. And then I love what Rosalie said, and then talking about the career connection. So who had to think of that, right? And that builds in, the FDA or USDA, they were the ones who donated the rain barrels. Why do they donate rain barrels? And, that opens up a whole other line of thought, as well as, angles and rates and all those different words that you're using are words that the kids hear, yet again, if you're in the state of Texas, that you hear in the standards. And so those are the different ways that you can reinforce. And it really is kind of that, after you see what you're doing and how adults use the math, then what were the questions that got in there, and then posing it, age-appropriate way for kids to engage. So you already have a site that the kids can now make videos and submit. As you heard, several of them did camps like that. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great question. Anyone else?
I was going to point out that I love that us showing your ideas sparked your ideas. And I think that is one of the strengths of the Math Finder program, is that when kids practice answering questions, it only leads them to more questions, and then questions that they can answer and questions that their friends can answer. And so that curiosity of how does this relate to me and my world, and what other questions do I have, is really the strength of the program. You may start with 4 sites and kids leave with 20 questions that they can answer, things that they never thought about, like how many plants can I plant in this garden? If I have this many plants, how big do I need to make the garden? How far, in our case, how far apart do I need to space these plants? How many seeds do I need? Just all of those questions that allow kids to explore and be problem solvers and feel confident in their ability to solve problems instead of shying away from problems.
Wonderful. You were going to ask a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I'm in a small program that is building a network of weather stations across the state of Texas. I'm really interested in doing an educational program, and just want to say this has been really thought-provoking, and how I can think of approaching a program like that if I were a kid going to, seeing a weather station for the first time, what mathematical questions would I have, rather than hey, I think teachers would really like this data-driven, blah, 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 right? So,
Another idea that comes to mind, if you're obviously weather stations collect data, right? So then the kids might see data and have questions to ask and start practicing asking questions about what the data means and what math they're seeing, just by looking at graphs or looking at the patterns or the trends. And so that's fantastic. It sounds like it would be very engaging. And starting with the kids is a cool idea.
One of the things I think we did, I didn't say, was the students who are participating in this program are in grades 5 through 8. So I don't think I said that, but just FYI, sometimes that comes up how old are these students that we're talking about? Yes.
Another question. You all have kind of referenced the inquiry process, I guess, the questionnaire that you say. I noticed, do you have this little cache of questions that you start from for the inquiry process?
Yes, we actually do. So going through the program and looking at, we actually have all those on our website. So she'll share, Saki will share the website in just a moment, but it's really getting students to, like you said, notice and wonder, and it's walking them all the way through the process. So all of those questions are embedded, and there are also opportunities for you to create your own. So it walks you through that process and how to do it, as well as provides documents and things like that for students to engage in as well.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, and you'll see, we'll show you like some of the concepts on the website, but the kids actually, as they work in small groups, they pose their own questions, they write a list of questions down, and then they have to collectively make a decision which question that they want to explore and annotate on their iPad. So it's kind of like you start with a kind of like a framing, because it's pretty hard to come up with a question. You're in 5th grade, I don't know what my question should be. And of course, 5th graders are going to come up with a 5th grade, a question, but we want them to be math related, and that's the difficult part. But the more they do this, you'll see, I noticed when I was at the sites throughout the week, they got better and better at posing their own questions, and that's really what we want to see happen, is them coming up with their own questions with that. Did anyone else want to address? No? Okay. Any other questions or just general feedback? Let's go ahead and, Joshua, can you go to the website that has the Math Finder? Yes. And then I'm going to ask you to go to where it says Math Finder app at the top. Yep. Scroll down a little bit. So just a little, So this is the concept that we're working on. I actually have the very early version on my iPad of what this will look like. So again, the whole purpose of this is to be able to develop an app. To be able to have kids earn rewards as they play, build a sense of community, but also, of course, explore the math in their area. So you can kind of see some of the mock-ups up there. If you scroll down a little bit, yeah, right there we'll have a GPS feature as well. And then the AR overlay will actually be what students see when they're inside that particular location. So it's going to be pretty cool. We're excited about it. Our schedule, just really quickly, we're looking at, again, we're in our very first year. So we're in that spring, and we're looking at all of the research, training the educators, collecting data, and you can kind of see like the early app design from the focus groups and from those student sheets that I told you about, how they're designing, posing questions. We want to see what types of questions are students even thinking of. Is there any type of trends or anything along those lines? And then we'll move further and further into our app development and adding more and more sites as we go. So currently we're at Frontier and Fight, St. Philip, so we've also collected data at the zoo. Specifically, it's data we actually have from the students with pre and post tests in terms of their beliefs about themselves as mathematics learners, did their interest grow, and their anxiety, was there any change in their anxiety as part of a program math, as part of participating in the program. So I did want to just show you that. The other thing that I want to show you is, if you can go to the website that says Math Festival, all of you on your flyer, you're invited to participate in this. So this is the Math Finder Festival launching April 1st. And we hope that you can get your families involved to some degree. We have an entire website that we've created. It's very beautiful. We have worksheets and activities. Scroll down a little bit for me, Joshua. You can see some activity sheets right there. All of our sites are listed. So those are actually all of the sites. Again, we're in the very early phases. So there's going to be more data, more videos coming as we continue. And some little interactivities there of what you can do all month long. The month of April is when we celebrate math. So the month of April is Math Awareness Month. So we hope that this is a great resource for you to be able to implement. Something quick, you don't have to think too hard. All of that work has been done for you. It's going to be a series of clicks videos, activity sheets, etc. And again, the QR code is right there for you to scan, so you don't have to worry about, where do we find that? It's right there for you. Let me see, the last thing I wanted to go over was, can you go back to the other website? Yeah, and just go to the home screen. I'm going to show you how to get to our community. So go down to the very bottom. Should be a little sign-up sheet down there or a link to how, that's how you join our mailing list. All you have to do is click on that. Go ahead and click it for me, Joshua. It'll launch our form right there for you to be able to enter your information. We'll be able to keep you on our mailing list to let you have any updates of what we're doing with the development. Maybe even you want to share some ideas or get feedback on the app, some of the concepts of that nature. That is also on their QR code to be able to quickly do that. So definitely take advantage of that. All right, so right now what I'm going to do is just ask each of you, if you could just give us some closing or parting words. Maybe something you've learned from just your expertise through all of these years in informal science, or just, anything else you feel like you didn't have the opportunity to highlight. This would be a good time to do so as we wrap up. So we'll start with Selena on the end, and then we'll work our way back up.
So this is kind of a work in progress, and this is the first time that I've gotten to see the videos from the other sites developed. And what I love about it is there's a different kind of theme at each place, and so there's really not an overlap. So you truly could make this something that you can do with your family over a series of weeks where you're visiting different sites and exploring mathematics in different angles and in different ways.
I think what I really love about it is the creative process. So it's not just a sit and watch and listen and learn. It's really take this idea and then see the kids do it themselves. And that part of them taking ownership of their own observations and their own thinking and turning that into, eventually with the app, something that other kids will also consume and interact with is what I think is really great about it.
I just really love the way this brings us back as a community to continue to brainstorm different ways that we can do even our own programs, not only necessary for the kids, but it's also good for us too, to just think like, hey, I could actually part of the fun, angle my program a different way so that it addresses more math education standards or, something else. So it's nice to have a different way of thinking.
I think something that I really appreciated and hope this is what Coach was wanting was to hear that someone else wants to do these at their site. And so I really hope that everyone's able to see these videos and think, oh, this is how I can bring this to our area. This is how I can make it a different way for people to consume our spot, our resources. And so it is just a wonderful way to kind of brainstorm how do you do informal education in a different way, utilizing definitely social media and the technology that the kids are used to. So I really think it's just a great sounding board and an opportunity for more people to be involved.
I would say just kind of wrapping up with, it was a great experience. It is a great experience as our students are going through it. But as a former math teacher, just understanding where students are and giving them the opportunity to engage and become more math thinkers and know that it's already in them. And so part of that is what I love about it. And then also with our sites all across, our students being able to see it outside of their area as well, and then know that they are part of something bigger. So for our students to create their own videos and to see themselves out there as quote math people, they were really excited about their own videos, and it really helped to kind of bridge or to get build a more sense of community for the students, and they are excited about the app. They're looking forward to the next Math Finder Club. So that engagement or level of engagement and approach, making it really makes math more approachable for students.
Awesome. Well, can you ladies give him a round of applause? Yeah, I want to say thank you on behalf of talkSTEM and this wonderful project with MathFinder app. We hope that you've enjoyed it, that you take away some ideas, and we hope that you stay in touch with us and become a part of our community. And we look forward to sharing one day this app that we're going to be putting out there to help all of our students and their families, right, to become more math conscious, more comfortable with math, and demystify the whole thing. So thank you so much for your time. We wish you the very best on the rest of your conference. Thank you.
Thank you.